All right, so it's been a minute since I've done a video, but obviously I've explained in prior videos, sorry I'm a little bit tired, that I only really want to make videos when I have something that I think is valuable to say, so here I am now. Also, I want most of my focus this year, and of course following years, to be on developing scripts, which is what the main purpose of this writing studio workshop thing that I've done. I've developed a few scripts in the last year and a half with other people. I've helped them, so it's going good. And of course, I want to have time for my own personal scripts as well. And yeah, so don't get worried if you don't hear from me or get a video from me for like months. It's because I'm busy actually doing writing stuff. So that's what you would want. At the end of the day, you don't want me spending just all my time doing all these videos. With that said, I'm tired. I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible, but also try to be informative. So the thing I want to talk about today is Pet Sematary. And this is sort of like a double entendre, so to speak, in terms of us, talking a little bit about Stephen King's book, but it's more of a jumping off point for the main thing that I want to talk about with screenwriting. If you are familiar with Stephen King's Pet Sematary, the gist of it is when pets die, these people, they bury it in a cursed, sacred, ancient ground, and the pets come back to life, and they come back, and they're malevolent. And in the book, they end up burying their son or something of that sort, and he comes back to life, and he's malevolent as well. And I read this book a while ago, so that's just kind of off the top of my head. But ultimately, there has been sort of this idea, and I went to the library and kind of sifted through the book again to kind of, just revisit it. And one of the things that really kind of caught my attention about Pet Sematary is the correlation between what the book is talking about and screenwriting. Because essentially, I was having a conversation with a screenwriter about they wanting to write scripts, and when they're finished writing a script, they want it to go big. They want it to do a lot of progress in terms of whether they sell it, get it made, or any of that stuff. And I was like that a lot when I was first starting out. You want every script to mean something and to have value and to live forever. But what I talked about to the screenwriter is the main thing that you should focus on, and this is the part that I want everybody to kind of absorb here, is when you're writing a script, obviously you write it with the intent of telling a good story. You write it with the intent of it doing something, like get made, get sold. But most importantly, the core of writing a script and being a screenwriter is to constantly practice and get better and better and better every day, every week, every month, every year. Okay? And with that said, you have to be accepting of the fact that you are going to create your own sort of pet cemetery of screenplays. You have to be able to understand that not every screenplay is going to live forever. It's going to die at some point and you have to bury it. Okay? Now, the pet cemetery part of it coming back to life is the thing that I also want everybody to understand, is not every dead script is useless. What I have learned over the years is I wasted so much emotional energy, and I guess you could say like self-esteem energy, mental energy, with finishing a script and thinking, okay, now I have to do a second draft, a third draft, get to a final draft, have it perfect, send it out to people, do a table read, do this and that. Once I realized that, and I got better at my own writing and more self-aware of my own writing and my own skill set, I can write a script and be like, it's done. Yes, it's a first draft. Yes, it has problems. Yes, it has these things, but it's done. This is the end of the line of the script because I have realized what the purpose of this script was, and it was to whether help me improve on dialogue, have a bunch of ideas that were clogging my brain out and on the page, and freeing my brain up to actually work on a newer script and something that's more fresh and that I can actually feel stronger about to do a second draft, third draft, and the final draft for, and to send out to people. Because sometimes ideas that you have that you're interested in, they're actually blocking and getting in the way of better ideas and better stories that you have, which is why a lot of people run into writer's block, is they kind of realize like they have this idea, but maybe they don't think it's that good enough to sit down and write, and they want a better idea, but they can't think of a better idea. So they get into this weird writer's block where it's like, well, I can't, the idea that I have isn't that great. I need to come up with a better idea to write, blah, 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 this and that. And a lot of times you just have to write that less satisfying idea. And the other thing is too, is as you write and you build up this pet cemetery of scripts, what you start to realize is you can take things from those scripts and resurrect them into new scripts. So what I mean by that is there have been times, especially with a job that I had done a couple years ago at this point, I took scenes from an old script that I had written and I repurposed them into the new script. And it worked out really well. Obviously, I had to do some reworks and some revisions to make it fit, but being able to resurrect that script and use it in a non-malevolent way into a new thing was also great. The other thing I've also realized is being able to grab scripts from 10 years ago and actually rewrite them to be better scripts on a second draft or a third draft. Because you have to understand, sometimes you write a script and you just need to get the idea and the general story and the narrative on that page, 90 pages, 100 pages, whatever. Once you get it on there, yes, it can die and go away, but in that pet cemetery of yours 10 years down the line, or even less than that, you can resurrect it when you're better, you're more efficient, you have a much more clear understanding of who you are as a writer, and you've most definitely improved overall in other areas that you were weak on. So you can now take this, what would be considered this very dead and dilapidated script, and really resurrect it into something that is more in line with the idea that you had 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that you couldn't quite execute at the time because you were just lacking in skill set or lacking in insight. So that's like the main thing that I think was really interesting about the Pet Cemetery and drawing that correlation. Because as I was reading that novel and kind of like rereading it again, I was like, oh yeah, I have this. You know, I have probably, if I'm being completely honest here, about 60 scripts hidden somewhere, like lost somewhere on my hard drives. And there's a lot of those scripts that I think I would say maybe like 10, 20% of those that I could probably take and improve and make into something great, at least great for me, comparative to my skill set. When you're writing a script, understand its lifespan. It may not need to be beyond a first draft. And if you're really feeling it, yeah, go after the second draft and all that. But you learn to be really in tune with what is needed at that time for that script. Not everything needs to live forever in the zeitgeist. You can bury the script and kill it and leave it there and wait for it to actually resurrect when it matters. And you can take elements from that and incorporate it into newer scripts later down the line. There are so many writers, not just screenwriters, but writers in general, that have just so many things that they've worked on and done that will never see the light of day. And it's a point that I've made prior, but I really wanted to kind of circle back and reiterate this in a different context so that everybody can kind of really understand why it's important to have that mindset, in my opinion. I'm still working on the Hero's Journey workshop. I am being an unnecessary perfectionist with it, but this is a time where I can do that because I don't have many people watching these YouTube videos yet, and I have a very small following, so you know, nobody's like begging for it yet. So, and I really want it to be good. So I keep saying so a lot. Whatever. Have a good night. It's late for me and I need to record one more video after this. So